Well, hello there, and welcome back to the very latest episode of the Love Machine podcast. Now, did you know that a staggering 80% of our daily thoughts are negative? Today, it's time to flip that script. In today's episode, we're going to delve into a topic that can truly transform your life: self-love and positive self-talk. So many of us are really our own worst critics, constantly battling that negative inner voice that tells us we're not good enough, not attractive enough, and just not worth it. So we'll be showing you how to embrace self-love and change the way that you talk to yourself. It can not only boost your confidence, but also improve your relationships. So if you're ready to ditch the self-doubt and step into a more empowered version of yourself, you won't want to miss today's episode. And to help me, I have the truly inspirational Paris James. She is an experienced and dedicated educator with a passion for personal growth and empowerment. As a qualified holistic lifestyle coach and internationally accredited life coach, Paris combines expertise in mindset and healthy habits to help others achieve balanced and fulfilling lives. She is the author of The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a lifestyle and gratitude journal, and she inspires others to embrace optimism and transform their daily routines. A fitness fanatic with a commitment to well-being, Paris motivates people to live with purpose, positivity, and a focus on self-improvement. Paris, how are you doing?
Hello, James. Thank you. Yep, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me here today.
Good. I'm really pleased to have you here. This is your first ever podcast, you said to me.
It
So
is.
no pressure. I will be soft and gentle as always, but we had a really good chat before and I'm very excited to do this.
We did indeed.
And I said that you're inspirational because when we spoke before, you told me about your story and why you
hmm
do this. Now, you've told me that. Of course, my listeners haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. So would you like to introduce yourself and tell me a bit more about what makes you into the expert that you are now?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll start. I had a pretty normal childhood when I was growing up.
Mhm.
My negative self-talk probably started at school. I had a few children pick on me because of my weight, just kids not being very nice. I've got an older brother, an older sister as well. And then when I was 15, my parents decided that they wanted to move to France. At the time, it was me, my mum, my dad, and my sister living in the house, and my brother had already moved out. Yeah, so they asked me, do you want to move to France with us? And I obviously at 15 didn't speak French, was at school, got all my friends. I decided to stay in England. So when I was probably end of 15, nearly 16, they ended up moving to France. And I lived in the family home with my sister, who was 4 years older than me. It was quite tough because I never really told my mum and dad at the time that I didn't really want them to go. I remember really vividly thinking we were given really good experiences. We were really lucky as children. We were able to have lovely family holidays. We had a really nice home, just had lovely experiences. And I remember thinking, if this is something my mum and dad really want to do, I don't want to be the person to stop them from doing that. So even though it was something that was a bit hard for me, I was like, yeah, I really want you to go. I'm really happy for you to go. I want to stay here. So I stayed here with my sister. Something I didn't mention before is a year later, my sister then had her first child. So I then stayed in the house, helped her with the baby as well, and then ended up moving out, going through lots of yo-yo dieting. I think the negative self-talk really started to take an impact. Obviously, the effect of my parents leaving when I was young had that impact as well. And I just I just was filled with this anxiety. And I then started my teaching career. And with that becomes lots of pressure and stress. And the anxiety just got worse and worse, went into anxiety, panic attacks, a lot of self-doubt. I was having night terrors, I couldn't sleep. So yeah, that's kind of my story. And then one day I just decided that I just can't go on like this anymore. I can't go on feeling completely putting myself down all the time, feeling really low, really negative, even though to everyone else I was super positive. So
Hmm.
you wouldn't really know that this was all on inside my head. Um, so yeah, so then I just decided one day I need to change it. And I started exercising, did a holistic lifestyle coaching course, learnt loads, completely changed my lifestyle habits. And yeah, now I'm anxiety free. I don't have panic attacks. I sleep well. I feel so positive. So that's kind of my story and why I've become a holistic lifestyle coach,
Hmm.
because I want people to know that they can change and to know that you can shift your mindset, and
Yeah.
you need to love yourself.
You do. Well, thank you for sharing the story. I know that it's difficult to do that sometimes. So you made this decision one day that enough was enough. You weren't going to talk to yourself like this anymore. How
Mm-hmm.
long did the transition take until you were ready to sort of take on the world?
um, it took probably a couple of years, because when you've had a long period of putting yourself down
Yeah.
or looking in the mirror and picking yourself apart, or thinking that you're not good enough at work or in relationships or friendships or anything, it's a really hard habit to break, and it doesn't happen overnight. It is consistency. So I just had a lot of the time at the beginning, when I was doing my daily affirmations, I would feel a bit like an imposter, like a bit of a liar. Like, I don't really feel like this, really. I'm doing my opposite of what I normally tell my brain. But now, because it's been consistent for the past few years, I don't I don't have that imposter syndrome anymore. I'm like, yes, you've got this. You're amazing. Not in a like a not in a vain way, but in a, yes, you can take on the world. You're not all those things you used to think you are.
I love that. I think imposter syndrome does hit a lot of people at different
Mm.
stages. I get it sometimes, funnily enough. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And occasionally I think, I can't believe people pay me for this. That's what I think. But I think I know my value. I'm confident. I know all these things. But deep down, I've still got this little voice inside me sometimes
Hmm.
that says, oh, don't go and do that. You're not good enough. And I think everyone has that still. And you
Yeah,
told me you're completely, I don't want to use the word cured, but you've solved this mystery in yourself. Do you still have bad days?
absolutely. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're human then.
Yeah.
That's
No,
okay.
absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
No, 100%. I still have, for example, I recently just done a presentation around 60 people, and I was so nervous. And I just, in the back of my mind, it was like, you're going to mess up. You're not confident enough for this. And I was like, no, I
Yeah.
am. Sometimes I literally just have a chat with my head in my head. And I'm like, you've got this. You can do this. Stop being silly. They're not true. And then, yeah, and then got into the rhythm and I absolutely loved it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think everyone, you could be the most confident person, but I think everyone at times has those, those limiting beliefs deep down in them, and it's just realizing that these are a belief and it's not the honest truth.
Yeah. I think it's recognizing that we have good days and we have bad days,
Hmm.
and we can tell ourselves all the good things we want, but sometimes life will get in the way and it will complicate things. Absolutely. And generally, 90% of the time, I'm happy, and 10% of the time, I will have these little thoughts in my brain. But I think that's what pushes us in life to take
Yeah.
action. And for me, people come to me because they're ready to find somebody for the rest of their lives, hopefully. But many of them say, I'm not good enough, I'm not attractive, I'm never going to find someone, there's no men, all the women hate me, and this goes on.
Hmm.
But I think you have to be at a certain stage to want to change in order for this to happen. You had your catalyst when you thought, enough of this. And it all stems back from childhood, all these things,
Hmm.
the way we were treated. For me, I was bullied at school, had a horrible time. Not all my schools, some of them. And even these thoughts as an adult come into your brain. Even when I was dating, there's a girl rejected me when I was about 11. I can remember that now. I can remember it clear as crystal in my mind now. This girl rejected me. And it wasn't that she rejected me. She's about 3 years older than me, first of all. So why would she be interested? I look back on it and being a bit more reasonable now. And I think, do you know what? I was 3 years younger than her, so I'm an immature little boy. But it stang for many, many years, that little feeling of being hurt. And we carry this forward into our adult life when we form relationships. But really, a lot of this comes from people that bully us and people that say these negative things. We don't know what's going on in their lives. We've all got our own story that happens. So I'd like to ask you, this is leading to something, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm just talking about random stuff. It's not so much you, my listeners, thinking, where's he going with this? I like to go off at tangents. I'm keeping this on track today because I know we could talk for hours about anything, which is always good. So what I was going to say is that the way we talk to ourselves is very, very important. But when
Mhm.
you have negative self-talk, the way that others see us, the way we talk to others could be affected too, can't it?
Yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
think the way we speak to ourselves impacts our relationships in all different ways. So what advice do you have on that?
Um, it's just understanding your root cause. So why is it that you are having these negative thoughts? Is it
Yeah.
because of childhood trauma? Is it because of past relationships? Is it because past experiences you've had led you to think this? So it would just be understanding where those root causes are coming from,
Hmm.
realizing that they are a limiting belief, they're not the truth,
Yeah.
arguing with yourself a little bit. So it, in terms of what I mean by that is when your thoughts going off, that negative thought, just being like, nope, that's not true, and it batting it away.
Hmm.
But understanding as well that the way you feel about yourself 100% reflects on how you may treat other people. It's that mirroring effect. So
Yeah.
quite often if someone is really unkind to you, there's actually something deep inside them that's really hurtful. And if someone is unkind to you, even if it's hard, try and show a bit of kindness to that person. Like you say, you don't know what goes on in someone else's life.
Yeah.
And just looking at it from a different perspective, maybe.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned mirroring just then, and it reminded me of something you said to me on the initial pre-call to this, which is about this little technique you have about looking in a mirror and how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And I like to ask you about that because I think if we talk to ourselves in the mirror, it's pretty much what we have to do in the right way. And you'll guide us for that in a second and explain that. But I know that when you have positive affirmations and you tell yourself things with eye contact to yourself, it can really boost the effect, can't it? Overall. So can you explain to my listeners what you said to me on the phone?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's something that I learned through my coach, this activity that you can do in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
So you want to stand in front of a full length mirror, stand about 6 feet backwards back, and then say to yourself, I love you, you are beautiful. The reason you have to stand 6 feet back is because when you're really up close to the mirror, your brain is still picking out all the details. So even though you might be telling yourself that you love yourself, you're beautiful, that your brain in the back of your mind might still be saying, oh, I don't like your knees, I don't like your hair, I don't like this. And the affirmation isn't going to be as impactful. So yeah, standing back, you're not going to pick out all the details, you're still looking at yourself, and that affirmation is hopefully going to start sinking in.
Amazing. Now, if you haven't got a full length mirror, feel free to go to a department store and find one.
Do it in the mirror in IKEA, you'll be fine.
Do it. Nobody will notice. Of course, I won't. You go and say to yourself, but do it clothed. That's my advice. Okay. Because the next step of this is probably to do it naked. I would imagine, isn't it, for positive body image?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm steering that into the conversation now. Positive body image. Many people don't want to take any action or start dating or interacting because they think they look awful. And you've been through that. You've had the stage in your life, and I've had it to some degree in my life when I was a bit heavy when I was younger, and it still haunts us to this day, doesn't it? If we had this
Yeah.
conversation, how can you deal? Never mind negative, positive talk, but negative body image. How do you deal with that?
You just have to learn to love yourself for who you are,
Yeah,
and understand that until you start loving yourself for who you are in the mirror, who you are inside, outside, that you're not going to find someone who's going to, not that you're not going to find someone who's going to love you, but you can't be in a relationship, I believe, in a really positive, happy relationship if you're depending on someone's um love for you as your happiness.
yeah,
So you have to learn to find inner happiness and love yourself, and by doing that, I would always say, using what I teach in my coaching sessions is my lifestyle habits. So
yeah,
your whole lifestyle has to be in a positive way. You can't look in the mirror and try and give yourself affirmations, but then you're sitting in a dark, negative space. You're surrounded by negative people who are putting you down. your whole life has to be positive in order for you to start loving yourself and to start loving your imperfections. So for that, I would, you need to focus on mindset. You need to focus on your nutrition, exercise, whether that's just a daily walk or you go to the gym, you find a class, some type of daily movement, hydration, making sure you're getting enough water, mindfulness, so just little bits to take some deep breaths and slow down, and then sleep is really, really important as well, 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah, people say that to me, and I always say the same thing. I've got little kids. I never get
Yeah.
7 to 9 minutes, maybe if I'm lucky, overall, which is important. We're going to come on to your personal habits shortly and what you do, because you are the one to inspire everybody when we come on to that in a second. I was thinking about, I said this to you again in the pre-call, that I saw one of your videos you put out where you're just throwing away all these biscuits and you're chucking them out saying this is all just pure junk. Today I went out for brunch and I had a really healthy meal, hummus, olives, but afterwards a lovely bit of cake, a nice cake brownie with a great big custard cream in it. It was delicious. And I say it's about balance in life.
100%.
It is. And I'm sure even you must have some crisps sometimes.
Definitely. I went to a baby shower just yesterday and the crisps were out and I was having a little pick. But before, the old me who would worry about what I look like and my food, I would be panicking that, I've just ruined everything because I've just eaten these crisps. But actually, I know majority of the time, I don't buy crisps in my house. I don't eat this type of food normally. So once in a while, it's absolutely fine. And like I say to my clients, always live by 80-20. 80% of the time, that those good nutritional foods, whole foods, 20% of the time, enjoy your time, go for a meal, have those little treats. But it's just getting that balance.
Yeah, and that's true for many aspects of your life. I think you can't live the perfect lifestyle. That'd be very, very boring. I think cake has its place, and so do crisps. And the summer is not good for that. When the school holidays are on and crisps are out and barbecues are out. But that's another story.
Yeah.
I don't even like barbecues, but I am. The reason I'm saying this randomly, I'm having a barbecue in this weekend. It's my son's birthday. We're having a family barbecue. I'm getting buying all the crisps today, getting all them stocked up. But not for me. They're for my family and my children. But I think, how many crisps does a person need in this house? And it's not the same. It's my other son's birthday a month later. So we have the friends parties. We have the family parties, the ones that get together. So many parties. But life is too short not to have parties, absolutely. I would say. Let's get this back on track. I'm going to say to you, okay, positive relationships again. This is an important topic for many people. Imagine you are dating somebody or in a relationship. It could be someone new, someone you've been with a long time, and you feel that they have negative self-talk and they've got self-doubt, and you want to encourage them and help them improve without nagging them and ripping them apart. How would you handle that? How do you encourage them gently?
If they're not seeing it themselves, but you're telling them, and that might be hard because that person might not really believe it, but I would say compliment them, encourage them into do some gratitude with you, or encourage them into some daily affirmations. Sometimes people were a bit scared of the unknown and scared of change, but if they see someone else doing it and see that it's working for that person, and actually that's actually going really well for them, they're really positive, I want to be a bit more like that, just being around it can sometimes be enough.
Yeah, I think we feed off what's around us, don't we? So, you mentioned people that are negative and cutting them out of your life. And that's harder than it is to do, actually, isn't it? You can say that. You can't just cut negative people out. They're going to be, if they're important people to you in your life. But I think spend less time with them and pay less attention to what they have to offer. That can be important.
Put those boundaries in. 100%.
Yeah, put the boundaries in and then establish that. Even though they don't know about it, do it for yourself. I think the boundaries are for you. That's what boundaries are. They're not for other people to follow. They're for you to set what you think you're going to tolerate and what you're happy with overall. There's a lot of people out there now who are thinking, well, I would love to have better self-image, better self-talk, better self-confidence, but where do I start? How do I begin to do that?
Personally, the way I started was journaling. So at the time, I couldn't find a journal that I particularly liked. So I just got a notebook and I just started writing 3 things that day that I was grateful for, 3 affirmations, kindness. I wrote a few things. So for me, there's actually some research to show that if you show someone kindness, it boosts your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself, vice versa if someone's kind to you. So for me, it was like making sure I was showing kindness to people,
Yeah.
whether that's making someone a drink or just, smiling at someone or complimenting them. And then I would just do like a big brain dump where I would just get all my thoughts and feelings onto a page. So I was no longer holding it in my head. And that would be what I would suggest. Get a journal and just write gratitude, affirmations, get it down. And yeah, and that would definitely help.
How about your journal?
You
Your
can get my journal. Yeah.
explain your journal. That sounds great. I'm going to read this off my little notes again. The power of positive thinking, lifestyle, and gratitude journal. There you go. Tell everyone about that. Why not? Promote
So
it.
the reason I actually made my journal is because I couldn't find a journal out there that I felt ticked all the boxes for me. And then since I've been doing my coaching longer and longer, and I've got my 12-week program, I decided I would really like because I want all my clients to journal, I would really like a journal that follows my program.
Mhm.
So I've actually got it here in front of me. So it
Oh, I love
has
that. Yeah.
it has 14 weeks of journaling, but the first 12 weeks follows my my main program. Like I said, every week has a different has a positive quote or a positive affirmation, and then it has a different focus. So for example, the first week will be like realistic goal setting, thinking about things that motivate you, self-care ideas, and then you'll have your 7 days of journaling. Then the next week it will be like nutrition again, and it goes on and it covers all different areas like triggers. It has your circle of control where you have to, things you can't control, things you can control. Has bits on there about limiting beliefs, exercise, meditation tracker, walking tracker, letter to yourself. It's just got loads of different things in there that will help you with your overthinking, your mindset, and shifting that perspective.
That's amazing. That's very detailed for most journals. There's an awful lot of journals on Amazon that are pretty much just blank pages out there. There's not much in it. I've got one myself. It's a dating guru's journal for just tracking your dates. And it's fine. It's more of a notebook than anything else. And
Yeah.
is yours available on Amazon?
So I've actually just recently did a male version because someone at work said to me, "Oh, it's not very male friendly, your cover." So I was like, "Do you know what? That's a really good point," because I think the reason it's more feminine looking is because a lot of my clients, all of my clients are normally women.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just made it all like that. But yeah, so I've got another one coming in, and that one's called From Pen to Power. And similar, it's got all the same things inside, but it's got like a really nice black and gold front cover. But it's not available just yet because I've just sent that all to the to get printed,
Mhm.
and it will be available by the time this podcast comes out, actually. So yeah, it'll be
Amazing.
available.
Well, if you send me the links, I will definitely include them in the show notes if one can
Thank you.
find them. And we'll come on to your habits again in a second. If you do so much, and I'm sure you're going to cover that in a second. But one more thing I was thinking about, I wanted to ask you when it comes to all this self-talk, and that's rejection. That's one of the most powerful things that happen when it comes to dating and relationship. People reject us. And my belief is, and I teach people that rejection is just redirection. You are being told that isn't for you, you're going to be attracted and go towards what is for you. How do you teach your clients to deal with the powerful pain of rejection?
Yeah, I completely agree. Rejection is awful in whatever situation. And having had a lot of personal rejection, it can be really harmful.
Mm,
But I believe having a think about where that person was coming from,
yeah.
you know, understanding that just because you weren't right for them, or whatever reason you have been rejected, whether that's in a relationship or a job interview, anything like that, take what you can with it as a lesson.
Hmm.
Just be like, if it was a date, for example, and that person then decided they didn't want to date you anymore, and just look at it as, okay, I got to go on a date, I experienced a date, I got to know someone, maybe it's helped me figure out what it is I'm looking for in a person. And just understand that it's not a personal attack on your personality or who you are. Everyone is different. everyone is coming to the table with different experiences in their life, and just understanding that it's just not personal for you, and it's not a reflection of who you are. And that you can work through it, and the rejection.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's absolutely true. And I would agree. And going back to what I said to you before, when I was rejecting when I was about 10 years old, thinking about it now, there were plenty of occurrences where other girls around that age and older were very interested in me at the time. But the brain forgets all this, doesn't it? The brain fixates on the one person that wasn't interested rather than the, I'm going to say 100 just to exaggerate here, who are interested. And one thing again about rejection when it comes to dating, quite often, 9 times out of 10, that proves to be a narrow escape. If that person isn't on the same wavelength, you don't really bond with them and there's no vibe, then really you can't force that. And you will find out later on they weren't the right person. And all it is steering you towards someone that is appropriate. And like you said, life does teach us lessons. We have to learn what we want and what we don't want, what we're going to tolerate. And that's part of dating and any sort of relationship. You wouldn't just go for the first job you come to and accept that job. You go out there and you find the one you want and you work for it all the time. I want to ask you now the big question, which is about, this could be a long question now, about your daily habits and routines. What do you do?
Okay, so because I have quite a lot of things that I like to get done in my day, I've got quite a strict routine, especially Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
So I get up at 5:30 normally.
5:30?
Yeah.
Gosh, okay.
I get up at 5:30. I get ready. I go to the gym. Then I head off to work. I come back from work. I do all my client bits. I have my clients. I do my coaching. I walk my dog, cook dinner. Then my biggest thing I do in the evenings is my evening routine, which has been an absolute game changer for me. So I'll go upstairs to bed around 8, half 8. I put all the lights down really dark. I get ready for bed. I pack my gym bag. I get all my clothes, everything prepared for the morning. Same with like my food, breakfast, everything is already ready for me to just grab and go. And then I get into bed. I do my journaling. I read a book. I do a bit of meditation. Then I go to sleep. And that is pretty much my structure, Monday to Friday. And then it's a little bit different come Saturday and Sunday because I don't get up at half 5 then.
Do you have a lie-in, do you? Is that your treat to do that?
Yeah, lie-in normally, because my body clock is normally only till about 6, half 6. So yeah, it's not much of a lie-in, but yeah.
That's my trouble. My body clock wakes me up really early if my alarm clock or my children don't. So I'm always up. But do you know what? People are different. And I actually read a book. Well, I was going to read a book about how you need less sleep. You can teach yourself to need less sleep. Have you heard about this book? And
No.
it's a structure you can survive on about 3 or 4 hours if you train yourself to do this. And therefore you live about a third longer ultimately because you have more life. But do you know what? There's a lot of pleasure in just lying in bed and just chilling out in life overall. So Paris, I really want to keep talking to you, but it's the end of the podcast for today. Tell everybody how they can find you.
My main place where you would be able to find me is on my Instagram. And then in my bio, I've got a link to my program, my website. We'll have a link to my shop as well for my journal. Mm-hmm. And you can subscribe to my weekly emails. So that's on plj.coaching on Instagram. And like I said, everything will be on there. They'll be able to find me. And just follow me, follow the routine, get some good vibes, some positive energy. And
Amazing. Well, that's what you definitely are. I think the P in your name stands for positivity, which is really cool. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining me. I know we'll talk again another time, but it's been amazing talking to you. Well done with your first podcast. You did really, really well. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And I will speak to you another time.
Thank you, James. Bye.
Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.